Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. This video is brought to you by Building Block Construction and Sophisticated and Swanky. This is going to be the Tulsa Tough Women's 2-3, and this is Crybaby Hill. Well, I'm sorry, this is day 2, Crybaby Hill. And so we got 3 women in the race. That's Marlena Bemis in front. It's Alexa Alacon on the camera, and Elisa Luau that's riding for us as well this weekend. And yeah, I'm pretty excited, pretty proud of the women this weekend competing. Tulsa Tough's a huge event. Hot weather, very humid, really stiff competition. And being that we're a new team, it's our first time out there. A lot of the ladies, it was their first time out there as well. And I think they did pretty good. This weekend here, this race here, we kind of, we're big players in the race early, and then we kind of, have a couple incidents. We got a crash. Marlena ends up having a crash, and then Elisa has a mechanical and then a spectacular crash, with 2 laps to go. So, a little disappointed in how we finished, but not disappointed like in the girls or anything like that, but a little disappointed that I think we were set up to really have a good finish on this race. And super proud of all of the riders that came out there that we know, like LABA, they raced really well over the weekend. Jade Stevens raced really well. And yeah, I just think it was really good. Just a good event, good atmosphere to take in. So yeah, let's get to some racing. So we're looking at Alexa's camera right now, and this is just the first couple laps. And we're going to be switching back and forth. Like, basically, when you see if there's power on the screen, power and heart rate, that's going to be Marlena's camera. And then Alexa's camera just has, the maps, the speed, and the grade. And that's just because I didn't have her power profile and stuff like that. So, as you can see in the top left corner there, this is it's not your average crit. Not just that it's the kind of diamond shaped or triangle shape up there, but unlike most crits, this has like a 15% climb in it. And it's not a true climb, it's more of a power climb. So it's not just that like lightweight people are gonna have the advantage. It's sometimes it can be considered a sprint even. It's gonna be a short, just, a climb that requires lots of watts. And I got Ellen with me too to help break down the video. I'd love to have the girls with me, but if I wait for the girls, it'll end up being out like 6 weeks later just because none of us live by each other.
The camera really does not do this hill justice. I know you can see some of the women start to have a slower cadence, and it just is so steep. Even walking up it, it's called Crybaby Hill for a reason, and it just is a brutal hill. And then there's also a really steep downhill corner that is decreasing radius and really challenging and very difficult for riders to get correct. So unfortunately a number of crashes there, and watching all the different levels, it was a brutal corner.
Yeah, so the climb basically taxes you energy wise. And that corner is probably one of the most technical corners, for sure it's probably the most technical corner that we race all year, but it might be one of the most technical corners around. So like you can see here, this is Marlena's video. As you can tell, like there's power, heart rate, cadence, just because one, I coach Marlena, so I have her entire file. But yeah, this corner coming up to, they call it crash corner for a reason, but it's downhill, decreasing radius, off camber, with a couple bumps and scrapes, a little holes in the middle of it as well, some cracks. So yeah, this is definitely a very technical corner. As you can see, there's people taking multiple lines, some running wide, some taking it tight. Marlena took it pretty good that time. And I think with clear air in front of her, she takes it really well. It's just sometimes when she's in the pack and there's different lines, she wants to take it a certain way. And it's just, later in the race, you'll see on the video when it catches her out. I think she was just trying to turn it a little bit too tight. She was inside, turned it a little bit too tight, where it's off camber at, and it tucked the front wheel for her.
The weather on this day was a little bit cooler, so still the humidity pretty high, but compared to the previous day, I think the women really enjoyed a little bit cooler weather, and it originally was supposed to rain, but we were lucky, and I don't think there were too many raindrops that fell.
Yeah, you can see the cloud cover. I don't think we could escape the humidity no matter what, so everybody was a little happy for the cloud cover just because it kept the heat down just a little bit. Especially when there's a breeze, it felt pretty good. But other than that, it was pretty hot. The day before, everyone that finished the race, they're like barely able to walk and breathe, catch their breath, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see here, Marlena's doing a great job running up front. I think she really came to race today, and it's just unfortunate things happen. Both crashes, we did it to ourselves. There was no one else involved or anything, so we don't have anyone to blame. It's just racing. The girls were competing, and things happen. So, but other than that, you can tell Marlena's at the front running pretty good, and I think she was here just with a good mindset and ready to race.
I know, we think of just Crybaby Hill as the only hill, but there's actually a couple different bumps of hills. So there's that first steep one, and it turns a corner, and there's another little hill, and then there's a little downhill that kind of goes into the last hill. So I think you can get some good momentum, what it appears, and try to carry that, but people are just suffering from that first really steep hill. So then it goes into the steep downhill. So really challenging course.
Yeah, and if you see, I'll try to point it out on the next time they come down Crash Corner. But yeah, there's really 3 hills on this course. So like Ellen was saying, you have the very first part of Crybaby Hill. Then you have the second part when it turns right. Then the downhill. And then there's another hill that doesn't look steep because you're going downhill and you're carrying so much speed. But I think it's about 11 or 12% as well. And I think the second hill or the third hill is really one of the best places to attack. Everyone kind of attacks on the first hill or the first turn, and everybody's kind of waiting for that. But I think once you get over this hill, it's kind of sapped your energy. Everyone wants a little bit of breather on the downhill, and I think that's a good place to attack from that downhill to the third hill. And it's really not a big hill, it's just a little kicker. But we all know when our legs are tired, they're tired, and you just kind of want that little bit of recovery. And shout out to LA Sweat. LA Sweat raced really well both days. They kind of controlled the race along with LABA. It was kind of like a California Los Angeles battle. You can see here that's Gabby along there. Gabby raced really well as well this weekend. She was up the front helping her team and setting the pace and things of that nature. Also with Priscilla and Camilla. And like I said before, Jade, I think, raced very well also, especially on a day like this with her and India being kind of like sprinters. Sometimes it's hard to get over that hill, but I think they both have a lot of power, and that helped them just kind of use it as a power climb.
And there is Elisa in a little bit in front of Marlena there. And, it was great to have her come out and guest ride for us this week.
Yeah, Lisa, this is her first year of racing. So she's brand new to the sport. But for me, she's one of those, for slang terms, she's one of those get it girls. Like she has that it factor. She's always going to compete. It doesn't matter how new she is. She's going to come out here and give it 100%. I believe she has about 5 wins or so already this year, including a P123 race. And that's awesome for someone in their first year of racing. Start off, as a Cat 5, win a ton of races, and then win a P123 race already in less than 10 races or whatever. So definitely, very talented, very competitive. Of course, she's not going to know everything because this is her first year of racing, but she learns really fast. And like I said, there's certain things you can't teach, and you kind of call it that it factor. And I think she has it. I think she's gonna do well in whatever she does. She's determined, has a lot of confidence, and she's gonna compete.
And I'm not sure if that was where she won the $100 preem. It may have been, because it was stretched out there. May have, I wasn't paying that close attention, but I think it was.
Yeah, Elisa definitely loves going for those preems. $100 is $100, and it's not cheap going to Tulsa. It's a great event. It's well worth it, but you got to recoup some of the travels as much as possible. But yeah, she pretty much eats this climb up most of the time. She's can very easily make up spots on that climb, just because she loves the climb. She's kind of a climber, breakaway type rider, which is great for cycling, road cycling for sure. Especially in California, we have a lot of crits. So anytime the road goes up, a lot of people are kind of like at a disadvantage, but that's where she excels. This pace was hot too. Like I said, LABA and LA Sweat, they pretty much kept the pressure on the entire day in both races. The entire weekend, they pretty much kept the pressure high, can control the peloton a little bit, and yeah, it was very competitive. I think it was actually a little faster this year than it was the year before. Camilla won the first day the year before, and I was coaching Camilla at the time, and I think this year it's just a bigger field, of kind of a little bit more depth in the field. Yeah, and I missed that spot. What I wanted to explain on the downhill, I'll try to catch it again. This isn't scripted or anything. We just kind of watch the video live and speak to what we see. So there's Jade there in the major motion kit, the black and red to the right. Jade's had a very good year this year as well. I talked to Jade in the off season, and we had discussed like kind of the goals and stuff for this year. And Jade told me, she said she's going to come in shape. She kind of took a year off last year. She was still racing, but she wasn't, really dialed in last year. She was just kind of going through the motions. And she said this year she's going to come in shape. She's going to be focused, and she's going to, make a run at it. And she's done a great job. She's in much better shape. She has a couple wins this year as well. And she's been competitive in like every race. So this is Alexa here, and Alexa does a great job. Like, Alexa is one of the smartest racers I know, just period. She's one of the smartest racers. I think a lot of it's instinct and just competitiveness. She's always in the right spots. And I mean that as far as what she can do with her ability and where she's at. She's always reading the race. She's always being very efficient. And today she kind of just didn't have it today. The day before took a lot out of her. She kind of worked for her teammates the day before, and she was going to be our lead out person, which she did. And it just kind of takes a lot out of you. So today she was just pretty fatigued. She's fighting the entire race. And as you can tell, she's falling back a little bit here. But she just continued to fight. And I was really impressed with her effort here, especially later in the race when she's, when the fatigue is really starting to set in. So here's what I was talking about on the downhill. If you look to the left, there's a tree all the way there. That big tree there, you want to go towards that tree as much as possible and start your turn in as late as possible, like as close to that tree as possible. And then when you turn, you want to look all the way, have your head all the way around to the right, and there's a telephone pole on the right side of the street there. So for me, I think you want to start your turn in point at about that tree. You're going to start it in a little bit before the tree because you're moving fast, but that's your aiming point. Try to get to as close to that tree as possible on the left-hand side, a sharp turn in, but it's not going to be a long lean angle. You want to just flick your bike, get your head around for that telephone pole, and then you want to start to stand up your bike as you go down the hill. And I know that might not set in with everyone. It might be a little bit hard to explain. Obviously, it would be easier to show it. But just if you think about it, you want to turn wide approach, turn as late as possible, get your head up and around to the telephone pole that's on the right side of the street, and that will keep you on line from running wide outside or taking too tight of a turn-in angle at the beginning of that turn. The tight line is not the line you want to be on when you're carrying speed there, and I think that's part of the mistake Alyssa makes later in the race. But yeah, we'll speak about that when we get to it. And there's India there, number 555. India's also had a really strong year, another couple wins. She's more of a sprinter type as well. So again, great job just getting over the hump here. So yeah, you could tell Alexa's really feeling it now. It's starting to stretch out a little bit. And off and on, she's starting to lose touch a little bit here. All right, so moving back to Marlena's camera. This might be the point where Marlena has her crash. You can see that's Camilla to her left right there. Camilla raced really well also, getting, I want to say she got 3rd place on day 1. But yeah, if you look, there's a tree coming up. There's a tree all the way to the left. That's kind of where you want to start your turn in at. But I think here, Marlena gets in a little deep here, tries to turn a little too much, and just, you saw the front end tuck. You can see her front tire turn to the left, like right at the bottom of the video there. So now she's a little battered and bruised, not too bad. But her handlebars are twisted, stuff like that. So it took them a while to get her back out on the course. And now this is Alexa's angle. And you'll see where Marlena crashes at. It's pretty far down the street there. So at that point, I think she should have been straightening her bike, like her bike should have been standing up already. But I think because she was trying to go inside Camilla, she was still at pretty steep of a lean angle with the off camber there, and the front just kind of tucked on her.
You can see us watching the race just past the start-finish line, and I'd say this was our 2 minutes of fame with Marlena's crash and talking about the team and getting her straightened up and situated.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Alexa came by and yelled to us that Marlena just crashed, which honestly, she probably shouldn't have. She didn't really have too much oxygen left in her lungs. So she came by and yelled, "Hey, Mar just crashed." And I think that was it for her.
Yeah, she said she was already suffering a lot, and that was just kind of all it took, just a little separation. So unfortunately, that's all she wrote for Alexa, and now she's gonna suffer by herself, and she does a great job in just the suffering. I wanted to cry watching her.
Yeah, and we say it's by herself. There are other people she's, suffering with. And, this is just it. Like when you have something like that, especially late in the race, there's a preem lap. And I say late in the race, we're just roughly at the halfway point, basically. But you have a preem lap, the pace gets hot, and then you have a crash, and it kind of separates people a little bit, or they have to check up to go around. And that little gap, especially on the straightaway where you have to use a lot of energy to close the gap, and then you hit Crybaby Hill, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. It takes a lot out of you.
And it was just stretched out at that point. There was like one group a little bit up the road and then kind of a second group. So, people take advantage when there's an incident of just kind of attacking and putting the pressure on everyone else.
Yeah, and we'll flip back to Marlena's video once she, gets back on the course, basically. So at the same time that Marlena has her crash, I believe it's a lap later, Alyssa has a mechanical issue, and Alexa's gonna just tell her, because like I said, Alyssa's new to racing. This is her first year racing, and Alexa's gonna tell her, hey, you go to the pit, just go straight to the pit. You don't have to go around the lap or anything, just go straight to the pit, and you can get back in the race. So just a little bit of misfortune here, but like I said, honestly, it's a great experience. It's just a great event, like all the way around. It's a great event, a big atmosphere, probably the biggest crit race in America. I know it's touted as that a little bit. It's just I haven't been to some of the other big national races other than like Boise. So I don't know the atmosphere of some of those other races, just other than what we see in videos. But this one has to be one of the best in the country. Yeah, you can see here. So definitely, it looks like Alexa's like down and out, but again, she's not. She's gonna fight back. She's gonna reel some riders in. Yeah, she doesn't. There's definitely no quit in her. So yeah, it's just for me. It's like Ellen said. It's like you know her ability. You know her like her will to fight and stuff like that. And she sacrificed for the team yesterday, and is kind of paying for it now. So here's Elisa here with the mechanical. Alexa just tells her, yeah, go straight to the pit. You know, don't go around, just go straight to the pit. And she can get back into the race, basically. But Alexa's going to keep fighting, and she is going to reel some more riders in.
Yeah, the atmosphere here at the top of the hill is just crazy. There's kind of some music playing, people dancing. It's just a lot of people up there partying. And
yeah, it doesn't look so packed right now, obviously, because this is earlier in the day. I think the women raced at 10 a.m. So this is early in the day. But by the time the pro women race, which was, I believe, noon, yeah, this whole area here is just shoulder to shoulder, standing room only. There's a rave. You know, people are losing their clothes. It's just a big, crazy party atmosphere. I can't imagine what cleanup looks like the next day.
yeah, walking around the course, it's like people just barely can get through. And yeah, it's definitely the biggest kind of spectator race that I think I've ever been to.
Yeah, and I saw on the news that I think 2023 they had over 50,000 spectators. So I have no clue what they had this year, but I'm pretty sure it's probably somewhat similar.
We came out to preview the course the day before, and people were setting up smokers, and there was a little like kiddie pool. So the whole community, people who have houses on the course, had chairs set up in their yard. So it's, you know, pretty big event.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a love-hate relationship with the community. Some people probably love it, and some probably just hate all this madness for the weekend where they, you know, kind of limited access to their yards and house and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully at least brings revenue to the city. You know, they've been having this event for almost 20 years now. So yeah, hopefully most of the community enjoys it. So yeah, here's where, just fast forward a little bit, here's where Alexa brings some riders back. You know, she kind of thought she was down and out, but she kept fighting. You know, links up with a couple more riders here. And you can see the difference of riding in the group and doing this hill by yourself, you know. When you're riding with the group and with people, not only do you have the draft effect, you also have a little bit of adrenaline, and, you know, you can, you know, go up the hill a lot faster. They're going at 15 to 17 miles per hour at some time, and you see when they're by themselves, sometimes it's 7, 8, 9 miles per hour. So again, when she has these two carrots in front of her, she's like, okay, put in a little harder effort, got the speed up again.
The three of them come together on the front stretch, and I remember you telling them to work together on the flats.
Yeah, just trying to get them to rotate on the flats, save a little bit of energy. You know, definitely anytime you're riding or racing on the road, you should never really be three across, you know. Somebody should always be drafting another rider. No sense for all three of you using your own energy, obviously, unless it's the last lap or something and you're trying to come around somebody. But for the most part, you want to be as efficient as possible. And there's nothing wrong with being friends for a little bit until it's time to, you know, especially when you're off the back, there's nothing wrong with linking up, being friends for a little bit, and then, of course, try to beat the other riders on the last lap, or, you know, whenever you decide to make your move. That's kind of why they call it frenemies. We'll be friends until it's time to be enemies. Yeah, so if you see here, there's the tree. Wait as long as possible to turn. Look for that telephone pole right there to the right. And yeah, you should navigate that turn a little bit easier than, letting your eyes and the downhillness of the turn and the speed get sucked in like that, letting that trick you a little bit. You just kind of need some references. All right, so here's Marlena, and Elisa's right behind her. They're both going to try to enter the race at the same time. The official gives them the go, and when he gives them the go, he waits until the peloton is passing. And this is not as easy as it looks. You see how fast the peloton goes by. See how many watts Marlena has to do just to try to get her momentum up. And yeah, it's basically you're standing there on cold legs. The peloton goes off, and you basically are in a dropped position and have to kind of run them down. Both Marlena and Elisa are both very strong, though. Power is something they have, and it wasn't that big of a deal for them to get back on. And Elisa uses Crybaby Hill to her advantage. This is pretty much where she made up most of her spots, is going up the hill. I would have liked to get a camera on all three of them, but we had 3 cameras, but there wasn't really a spot for Elisa's helmet or bike she didn't have a spot underneath her Garmin holder or whatever to hook a camera to. So now they're back in the mix, and they got about, I think there's 6 laps to go now. Six laps to go. They're all on the lead lap. When you have a crash, you get a free lap. I think this time it took 2 laps for them to get the bike back in order and get her back out.
Straighten her helmet, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, dust off some of the asphalt. So yeah, this is a tough position to be in. 1, because you crashed. 2, you got to navigate that corner 6 more times. So of course, every time you go to that corner, and especially when you have a low side, low sides catch you off guard, and sometimes you really don't understand what you did wrong because you just all of a sudden lose grip. And that's just life. That's life on a bike. When you ride for performance and you're kind of pushing the pace, yeah, your front tire can wash out. And you might go the same speed or even faster 10 more times, and it holds every time. So yeah, there was a mistake made, obviously, but you don't always know exactly what went wrong. So it's kind of nerve-wracking to go through that same spot over and over.
And sometimes you're kind of second-guessing your bike if something is, broken, or if, everything is fully intact. So it's hard to have the same confidence that you had prior to the crash.
Yeah, and actually they didn't straighten her handlebars completely, so that's pretty hard to navigate also. If you've ever ridden with the handlebars slightly twisted, it kind of throws you off a little bit. But yeah, her handlebars were still slightly twisted after the crash. No other damage though. Luckily, her body wasn't too beat up, and the bike wasn't, too damaged either.
She got a little scrape through her flame nail.
Oh yeah.
So she had a little flesh flame.
Yeah, the team custom painted nails. Yeah, they didn't survive that crash. One of them didn't survive the crash. So there you can see Lisa again. She, kind of uses the climb to move up. Very strong. Just it's not a big deal to her to use power going up this climb. And as you can see, it's a very strong field. It's very late in the race now, and you lose a lot of riders, but there's still there's still probably 20 riders right here in the front pack. And I believe there was 43 riders that started the race. So you got at least half the field still here in the front with, 4 or 5 laps to go. Just very competitive field this year. So, good job to all the ladies that came out and raced and, came in shape for it. And obviously that's to be expected when you move up. You're in a 2-3 field. Yeah, it's definitely to be expected that people are here to compete.
I would expect on a course like this, just with so much elevation change, that it would be more suited to a breakaway. So I think that's even more impressive that this front group is the front group and not just a few that have broken away.
True. Yeah, because anytime the road goes up or there's speed changes, yeah, that definitely usually plays into a breakaway.
And I think almost every race throughout the day had breakaways.
Yeah, it's just a testament to how strong the girls are up front. Like you said, there's multiple teams. You got, like I said, LA Sweat and LABA. They're not going to let somebody get away. So unless they're in the break together, it's definitely going to get brought back.
I think Marlena does a good job here of moving up and then kind of getting back in.
Yeah, definitely a good job moving up to the front. Like we were just saying, it's kind of hard after you had a crash, like to just kind of get back in the mix again. Usually a little adrenaline helps, but it's still always in the back of your mind and your body's a little sore. There's Priscilla there. Priscilla does a great job this race also. I believe she ends up taking second place in a photo finish at the line. So I think we're down to 4 laps to go. This little stretch here, this is the downhill obviously, but it's really deceptive how much speed you get after coming over Crybaby Hill. It's so steep on Crybaby Hill and the speed slowed us down so much, but then you're, quickly over 30 miles per hour. And then you can see here, they're back up to 11%, 12% incline. Yeah, and it just kind of looks flat after that. So it definitely catches some people off guard and taxes your legs again after you thought, you were done with climbing. And then, of course, this section here is just all mental stress. You get the recovery of your legs, get the recovery of your heart rate and lungs a little bit, but then you got the mental stress of just navigating this turn correctly. Try to take a glance at the lap counter here, see how many laps are left to go. 3 laps to go. All right, so there's 3 laps to go from this point. Marlena's falling back just a little bit here. I've seen a lot of people, well, I guess a lot of people on my team have taken this very tight inside line, but as you can see, she just kind of rolled up there pretty easily back to the middle of the pack. I think a lot of people just kind of tend to take it a little wider. It does kind of bottleneck right there, though, and can pinch you out a little bit.
Making the climb look easy. I think I'd be dying.
I think they're all dying because earlier they were doing 400 and 500 watts. They're down to the 300s now. So, the pace is still hot, but I think people just, legs are a little fatigued, so they're not hitting that climb as hard as they were.
And I noticed a few laps earlier in the race, her heart rate was in the 180s, and now it's up in the 190s.
Yeah, Marlena runs a pretty high heart rate to begin with. She maxes out in the 200s, like 205 or so. So yeah, 190, she still has a few beats left, but it's pretty high. Usually when she's in the 180s, it's fairly comfortable, but 190s, she's starting to get up there a little bit. So Elisa's in good position right now too. I think she was really setting up for a good finish, which I know she was, because we'll see what she did. But yeah, it's just she's just new, and the most difficult part of the course kind of caught her out a little bit, and that's just part of gaining experience. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, Elisa carried some pretty good speed right there, made up a couple spots, and unfortunately that may have played into, her confidence on the next lap. So there's 2 laps to go here, and she's gonna kind of exit the course in spectacular fashion. It's something we can kind of joke about now because she's all right and everything was fine. She was fine on the day as well, but crashing is one of the unfortunate parts of this sport, and the type of crash that she had just looks so explosive. It can scare a lot of people, and like I said, she has that it factor. She's a trooper, and it didn't really bother her at all. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it on this video though. So as you can see, she's kind of standing out of the saddle there on the left hand side, trying to make up a couple spots. Like I said, we're going into 1 to go, and just like she won the Preem earlier, just with kind of late attack, I think she's kind of having the same thing in mind. And she is a breakaway rider, so I don't think she planned on slowing down after the attack. So, all right, as you see here, she's kind of moving up on the right-hand side here. They're going to make the right-hand turn. And this is kind of where she makes her move. She's going to accelerate on the right side here on the downhill. And she's basically going to go from this position that she was in all the way to the very front. The difference is, she's carrying a lot of speed, and she's going to kind of take a little bit too tight of a line. So the 2 together are just kind of a recipe for disaster on a tight decreasing radius turn that's a little off camber, because it makes it hard to use your brakes late once you've turned in. So she kind of goes to the inside there, turns in, and just kind of runs right off and flips over the barrier.
And her bike was just hanging by a thread on top of the barrier, so she went over and the bike just kind of stayed there.
Yeah, and you couldn't really see it there. But yeah, trust me, it happened.
If you go to the live stream for this day, what is it, the river part?
Yeah, just go to the Tulsa Tough live stream, Tulsa Tough Crybaby Hill, whatever you want to call it, Tulsa Tough live stream. You'll see it. It'll come up and has all the races on it, and it shows it from a different angle.
It's at hour 3 and 17 minutes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely, yeah. So she went wide, hit the black cushions there that they have on the fence, did a complete somersault. Her bike went up in the air and then came back down and landed on the fence and caught the fence with her handlebars, so her bike actually didn't fall. It was just hanging on the fence by the handlebars. And she kind of somersaulted into the VIP section there and somewhat landed on her feet and then her shoulder. And believe it or not, everyone just tried to offer her a beer. So yeah, she ended up being okay, not really hurt at all, just a little bit of a short shoulder and some bent handlebars and stuff as well. So that she kind of fixed right after. So no big deal, she's okay. And like I said, yeah, it's unfortunate. I think she coulda, woulda, shoulda had a good finish, but life happens and we get no do-overs. That's one of the beauties. Excuse me, that's one of the beauties of cycling. It's like everyone's kind of fast, everyone's fit, but the key is you have to do it right now. Like, you only get this shot right here. So definitely the pace is hot again. You see everybody's on it. This is the last lap, and we got LA Sweat and LABA at the front kind of battling it out. And basically, this is it here. You just got to navigate this turn safely, and then it's just an all-out sprint from here. Marlena's definitely too far back right here, but I think it's good that just she was able to get back into the race and finish. I'm sure she's sore and other things like that, so she tries to give it a little go. but everybody's giving it a go. So just a little too far back, but good job, good finish. I believe she came in 11th place. So yeah, small group actually finished the entire race, but yeah, great job to the team. So thank you guys for watching.